We got a lot of violent crime to talk about this week. We start off our weekly roundup with a burglar that stabbed a man in the neck at a church in Brooklyn. We're going to talk about a gunshot victim that ran into a church in Nashville to hide from his attacker. We're going to talk about a pastor that was shot in the face when he tried to stop a car theft at his church in Tennessee. We're going to go international just for a moment to talk about 15 Catholics that were murdered in Burkina Faso because it was conducted by a terrorist organization. And we know that if we follow these attacks, we know that that same methodology is going to be used in attack here in the United States. We'll talk about a trial that's set for a man accused of killing a church security guard in Albuquerque. This is the one incident that caused me to do the class, How to Contact Suspicious Vehicles in Your Parking Lot. It's a free class. Head on over to ChristianWarriorTraining.com. Take that free class. There's no strings attached. My gift to my fellow followers of Christ. We're going to talk about a South St. Louis church that was condemned after a kidnapping and assault allegation. We're going to talk about a church vandalism in Lauderdale Lakes, Florida. This one's significant. The man went on a rampage on the church while people were inside praying. We're going to talk about a quadruple shooting with 2 people killed in front of a church in Milwaukee as mass was ending and people were walking outside. We're going to talk about a Melville woman that was arrested for shooting at 4 workers in front of a church. And then we're going to talk about a Phoenix man who I think is an Iraqi immigrant. I still got to find out, confirm that. They did a slew of fake bomb hoaxes at churches in California and Arizona. He placed fake explosives in the churches and walked away. The one thing I want you to remember out of all of this, we're going to talk about all this drama that happened over the week in America and overseas. Keep your churches open. Don't turn it into a bunker. Don't get that bunker mentality to where you don't want people to come into your church to worship. To the contrary, we're going to teach you how you can keep doing that. But keep your eye out. As with each story, I'm going to tell you what you can do to overcome incidents that happen at your church that are similar. So we're going to talk about the incident. We're going to give you some training points and some tips. If you want the written form of this, head on over to ChristianWarriorTraining.com. Sign up for our newsletter. You can get free training and you get a free training tip each week along with the written format of this, along with links to all the news stories, where to go to see and do a little bit more research. Do me a favor, share this with your team. I think everybody can benefit from it. All right, first up, let's jump into this stabbing at a church in Brooklyn. Now, a 60-year-old man was stabbed in the neck during a burglary at the Rehoboth Open Bible Church on East 56th Street near Farragut in Brooklyn back on February 23rd. Now, the church is currently under renovation, and it became the scene of a violent altercation around 4 p.m. when an unidentified assailant broke in and engaged in a confrontation with the victim, resulting in the victim being stabbed twice in the neck with a sharp object. Now, the assailant then stole the victim's keys and fled the scene in the victim's 2004 Chevy Silverado. The injured man was promptly taken to Brookdale University Medical Center, where he's reportedly recovering. The specifics of whether the victim was a church employee or a construction worker on site remain unclear. No arrests have been made in connection with the incident. Now, this occurred during the work week when service was not occurring. So during these times, it's advisable to keep your church secure and locked. However, if your church is open, ensure people only have one entrance to come in and monitor that entrance to the best of your ability. You should have a quality video surveillance system so that the hardworking men and women in law enforcement can catch that perpetrator. It's also advisable to keep your situational awareness working at the church. Now, I've done a lot of training at NYPD, and I know they have a robust facial identification system. So if you have a really good quality 4K camera system, they can go ahead and get a screen capture and figure out who that suspect is if he's been arrested before. NYPD is quality. They got good stuff going on over there. Man arrived at the church with a gunshot wound, prompting an investigation by Nashville PD. The incident occurred on February 24th when the man approached outreach workers at the church located at 36 Fairfield Avenue, and he sought help for his injury. He informed outreach workers of his intention to take a bus to the hospital before attempting to leave the scene. Metro Nashville Police Department officers were able to locate him shortly thereafter. They applied a tourniquet to control the bleeding, and he was transported to Vanderbilt University Medical Center with non-life-threatening injuries. The victim was uncooperative with law enforcement. He refused to provide any details about the suspect or the location of the shooting. Police conducted a search in the surrounding area, but they were unable to identify a crime scene related to the incident. Now, I did a long form video of this particular incident, and I gave you some great tips and tricks about how to protect yourself and your church if something like this were to happen. Now, look, if you've been on this newsletter for a while, you know that I talk each week about criminals and others coming to the churches because they feel that it is a sanctuary from whomever is chasing them, whether that's law enforcement or another criminal. It's almost like King's X. I'm at the church, you can't touch me. Now, in this case, the person who shot this man may chase him into the church to finish the job. If this occurs in your church, lock your church down immediately. Lock the doors, place armed people at all entrances. Only open the doors for law enforcement. If paramedics arrive first, usually they're not going to because law enforcement is going to make the scene clear first. Then let them in and lock the doors again. Keep your head on a swivel. Make sure nobody leaves the church. You want to lock this down because, again, that person wants to finish the job on the guy they shot. So they're going to come looking for him. Now, if it happens to be the police that's looking for him, then hey, let them know, guys hiding inside. It's all good. I remember one time I was working in plain clothes and a guy was running from the cops and I was in the area looking for him and I saw him and I was like, oh, that's the guy we're looking for. And I thought he was going to run again. So I rolled up and I'm like, hey, are you the guy cops are looking for? And he looked at me funny. I'm like, hey, come on, hide in the car. And he's like, okay. And I rolled up and dropped him off to the cops on the perimeter. All right. I did a long form video on this particular incident where I gave a lot more tips and tricks. Head on over to my YouTube channel. I list everything out about this incident and things that you can do. I've done that with a couple of these incidents and I'll keep doing that over the week. Next up, we got a distressing incident at New Zionfield Baptist Church in Memphis, Tennessee. 70-year-old Pastor Clemmy Livingston Jr. was critically injured after being shot in the face while attempting to prevent a theft of a Sunday school teacher's car by two men. Now, the incident occurred shortly after 9 a.m. on Sunday. Pastor Livingston was scheduled to deliver a sermon titled Another Chance that day when he confronted people that were stealing the Sunday school teacher's car. When he encountered them, they shot him in the face. Pastor Livingston is in stable condition, but he is having some medical complications. The Memphis Police Department is actively searching for the two suspects, last seen fleeing in a 2019 Chevrolet Corvette. I did a long form after action on this particular incident on YouTube here. I mentioned that I thought that Corvette was going to be stolen. They found the car. It is indeed stolen. Now, when I did this long form video that I did has now been seen by over 500,000 people. It's got a lot of traction. I gave some tips and tricks of what you can do to keep your church safe. A lot of the comments in that long form video, a lot of the people were hammering Pastor Livingston, saying that he should not have intervened, that insurance would have paid for the vehicle. Now, look, not all of us have insurance that's going to cover the theft of a vehicle. Some of us, a vehicle is the most important thing that we own and the most expensive thing that we own. And the loss of a vehicle like that is going to do some significant damage to us personally. I applaud Pastor Livingston for go ahead and try and stopping the theft. It is unfortunate he was shot. There is a GoFundMe going on right now for Pastor Livingston. I'm going to put the GoFundMe in the description of this video. I encourage everybody to donate. Just think, this video has been seen by 500,000 people. Just think if all 500,000 people donated $1, that would take care of all of his medical bills. Now, a lot of people were victim shaming in the comments. Please stop that. Stop victim shaming. The people at fault here are the people that shot the pastor. I think more people should intervene in crime in America. We would have a lot less crime. They are thieving and stealing and assaulting and murdering because of the exact thing I see in the comments. Don't do anything. Let the police handle it. I was a police officer for 30 years. I'm asking you to intervene. I'm asking you because it takes me, in my city, it took me 5 minutes to get there. For some of you, it's a lot longer. Some of you don't have enough cops in your city. In the city where my church is, they have one police officer. One. We're probably not going to get him because he might be tied up on something else. Stop victim shaming. There's nothing wrong with what Pastor Livingston did. And I encourage everybody to go head over to that GoFundMe and donate what you can. He needs your help. All right, we're going to switch over to Africa momentarily here. We're going to talk about Burkina Faso, which is in Africa. Now, on February 25th, 15 individuals were gathering for mass and they were killed in a violent assault on their Catholic church in the village of Esakani in Burkina Faso. The attack, which was described by church officials as a terrorist attack, occurred in the northern region of the country, which is plagued by activities of armed groups. Now, I included this because these people are immigrating to the United States through our wide open border. When they attack us, and it's going to happen, they will use the same style. This was not a complicated assault. They literally threw the doors open, came in, and killed people. That is exactly what you're going to see in an attack at the church in the United States. In the comments, I will always see people like, oh, they're going to do this, throw flashbangs, diversions. They don't do that anywhere. They literally come in, kill as many people as they can, and then leave. What makes you think it's going to be different in the United States? Look, history is a predictor of the future. They are not going to do anything that they haven't tried before when they come to the United States to attack our churches. Okay? It'll be the exact same way. All right, we're going to head over to New Mexico. A trial set for a man accused of killing a church security guard in Albuquerque. Now, a man named Mark Ward is facing trial after the alleged murder of a 61-year-old security guard at Calvary Church. Now, the incident, which took place in September of 22, involved the security guard, Daniel Bourne, who was fatally run over in the church's parking lot. Bourne, while on duty, had approached a suspicious vehicle, leading to the tragic sequence of events that ended with his death in a nearby arroyo. His security guard equipment, including his belt, phone, and gun, were missing. The police were able to trace the vehicle back to Ward, leading to his arrest and subsequent charge of first-degree murder. I developed a course because of this incident called Contacting Suspicious Vehicles. I implore all of you to go take that class. Learn how to contact suspicious vehicles. It is not hard. And put this in your lineup for training at your church so everybody can learn how to do this. All right, we're going to head over to St. Louis, where the Mount of Olives ministry located in the Patch neighborhood of South St. Louis was condemned by the city's building division on February 26 after being implicated in a kidnapping and assault case. This is a weird case, people. A woman was found near the church in the early hours of February 24th, claiming she had been held hostage and beaten inside the premises. Following a report, 3 men were arrested, charging them with second-degree kidnapping and third-degree assault. The church is known for serving African refugees and conducting services primarily in languages other than English, and has been the subject of police attention with 6 crime-related calls since January 2023. The city's inspectors condemned the building because of health and safety hazards related to the building's use. I don't know much else about this case. It is weird. If I hear any more information about it, I'll let you know. But look, for church security, if you see people in your church doing weird stuff, stop it. And then let law enforcement know. Churches tend to bury their dirt. Please don't do that. Please don't bury your dirt. There is nothing Christian about that. The Bible talks about justice and bringing people to justice and giving justice to victims. Make sure that if you see something, you stop it and bring it forward. All right, let's head on over to Lauderdale Lakes, Florida, where a man was caught on surveillance footage vandalizing the All Nations New Testament Church of God on Oakland Park Boulevard. Now, the incident, large object to break multiple windows, rip open doors, and even damage an iron fence. Now, the attack happened while church members and leaders were inside the sanctuary for routine prayer, and they were startled by the loud disruptions. Now, you can see from the video, it's going to come up in a minute, Pastor Haynes Brown confronted the assailant who claimed ownership of the property and expressed a desire to gain entry. The Broward Sheriff's Office responded to the scene, detained the man whose identity hasn't been disclosed. Now, they have significant repairs because of it. Now, I want you to look at what this man is doing. If you go confront him, expect a violent confrontation. Expect that the violence is going to turn towards you. I would not go ahead and confront him. I would lock the church down, call the police, and let them handle everything. I would not go out and confront him. If you confront him to stop the damage, just know it could be violent. Make sure you're armed before you contact him, and make sure you have training on how to deal with mentally ill and people that are high. Now over to Milwaukee, where we have a quadruple shooting that occurred outside of St. Catherine's Parish on February 25th. Now, the shooting took place in broad daylight after Mass had ended and resulted in the deaths of 21-year-old Breonna Sanders, a mother of 3, and her 28-year-old cousin, Sam Hunt. The incident, described as domestic in nature, led to the arrest of 3 individuals by Milwaukee police. A vigil was organized by members of the community and local church leaders to focus on mourning the loss, supporting the victims and families, and praying for first responders. What I want you to think about, that although this wasn't connected to the church, it happened in front of the church as church was letting out. So you need to determine if you're going to help people outside. What I would do, I would lock my church down. I would make sure nobody leaves, lock the church so nobody can come in, get the people out front, out of the area, and disperse them, because you don't want to let people back in, because what if the shooter comes in? You want to keep those people inside, lock bad people outside. I personally, it's not affiliated with your church. Are you going to confront that person? I personally would. Why? Because I feel I have the training and the skills necessary to stop that. It is an active shooter. You have 4 people shot. An active shooter is 4 people shot, not including the shooter. You have an active shooter that can easily spread into your church if you don't do something bad will happen. Not only that, we need to protect the innocent, okay? But that's up to you on what you want to do. You don't have to take any kind of action if you don't want. I would lock down my church. I would help the people outside seek shelter. And then I would help the police when they show up. All right, now over to Melville, Louisiana, where a woman shot at 4 people working in front of a church. This happened at Zion Baptist Church, where a 39-year-old woman from Melville was arrested after she fired a gun at 4 individuals working on a church landscape. The suspect was identified as Nicole Kilcrease. She faces multiple charges, including 4 counts of second-degree murder. Now, you can see here, she was pointing a gun at the people, and then she shot at the 4 people out front. She was arrested for multiple charges, including possession of drug paraphernalia. Nobody was injured. There is no motivation known for the shooting, but it sounds like it was unrelated to the church. But still, with that, I did a long form video on this, explaining what you can do if somebody comes up to your church and starts shooting at people out front. I break down this incident more in depth, and I break down what you can do to protect your people. I encourage you guys to go over and look at that long form video. Next up, we got a bomb hoax in Roseville, California. Zimnako Salah, 44, who I think is an Iraqi immigrant, but I'm not positive, so I'll have to confirm that, has been formally charged after being accused of initiating a bomb hoax at a church in Roseville near Sacramento. The 44-year-old was indicted for allegedly placing a backpack that was purported to be a bomb in the men's restroom of the church on November 12th of 2023. The act prompted a church employee to contact authorities and led to the evacuation of nearby areas, including a special needs classroom. The investigation revealed that the backpack contained only a pillow. They figured out who this man was. You need to expect that this stuff is going to happen more often. Here, what I would do is I would lock down my church, make sure nobody talks on their radios, because it could be a command detonated or a radio detonated device. And then I would evacuate everybody out of the church, lock it down, call the police. They'll call the bomb squad to come investigate. I have only had 1 radio detonated bomb in my entire career. I wasn't even there. It happened in my city, but I wasn't at this particular event. But a man had strapped a bomb onto his body and had a radio detonator. And it just so happened while he was en route to go blow up the courthouse, while he was en route to that, he had the bomb strapped onto him. A Caltrans vehicle drove by him. The guy in the Caltrans vehicle keyed up. When he keyed up his microphone, it blew up the man in his car as they were passing by. That's the only one I've ever heard of. Okay. It's very rare, but still, you want to make sure you don't talk on your radios. Now, there were some points made in the church shooting in Houston, Texas. The shooter had mentioned that she had a bomb and was going to blow the place up. And a lot of people were saying, no, stay off the radio. No, that's a little bit different. That's very dynamic. You have got to stop that shooter. And part of that is communicating. So communicate. The chances of that blowing up are so slim. Usually they don't have a bomb, like just in this case. So then you're going to have to communicate. So just look at what you have, put it in context, and then do what you need to do. And just expect more of these types of incidents to happen. Now, look, go over and take my training over at ChristianWarriorTraining.com. It's all free. Sign up for the newsletter. You can get the written version of this, so you can read it when you want to. Sometimes there's more information in there. And then the most important thing besides prayer, for instance, like this, is remember your ABC. So always be caring,